Families with Randy and Leslie, the podcast where we delve into the heart of what truly matters, our families. Healthy families make healthy societies. I'm Randy.
And I'm Leslie. We're diving deep into the powerful insights of Dr. Randy's groundbreaking book, The Family Legacy: Shaping Culture from the Inside Out.
Hear inspiring stories and strategies to transform your family. We'll explore topics like communication, forgiveness, healing, parenting, marriage. We'll cover it all.
We'll have provoking conversations with experts, coaches, and real-life families who are benefiting from intentional family building.
This podcast isn't just about theories, it's about tools that you can implement today.
We all come from families, so this podcast is for you.
Join us on this incredible family journey. Subscribe now as we learn to do family as God designed.
Transforming families one episode at a time. Remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end. Let's go.
Hi there. Welcome back to Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. I'm Randy.
I'm Leslie.
And we were very honored today to have a new relationship. We met Joel down in Dallas, and the second we did, we just sensed that there was something special in this young man and what he's doing. He can share more about what he's doing, but to help address this problem of pornography and addiction, and we're really excited to get him in. So why don't you just let us know, who is Joel?
Yeah, Joel Warneking has been married for 12 years to Rachel, has 3 beautiful daughters, and currently serves as the executive director of 423 Communities International. They seek to bring hope, healing, and restoration to those affected by problematic sexual behaviors. Joel, along with his wife, get to work in the ministry of restoring individuals and families back in healthy relationship with God and others through building intentional recovery communities all across the country for men, women, and youth. And so we are delighted to have you with us today, Joel. Welcome.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me come into this space. And it definitely just felt like a God moment of connecting us just in that brief walkthrough down here at the Hope Center here in Dallas, Texas, and the work that y'all are doing. I recently moved from Oregon, right? And so I get to say y'all now. I have a certified driver's license to say all y'all, and I'm working it in as best as I can. Just to meet you down here was just such a beautiful thing to hear your heart for restoring families. And here at 423, we want nothing more than just to bring hope, healing, and restoration to the whole family system. There's so much focus right now on men or betrayal, but really, what does it look like to curate a healthy family system so that every person in that space can thrive and be who God has created them to be? So I'm honored to be here this morning with you, and I'm looking forward to diving into some of these concepts.
Yeah, we're going to dive in just a moment. You set that up really nice. We always start with this, just in a minute or less. Tell us about your family.
Absolutely. I'll see if I can do it in a minute. Like I said, been married for 12 years this summer. We recently moved to Dallas to be closer to family here. I've got 3 amazing daughters, Amia, who's 7, Mercy Rose, who is 5, Norley, who is 2, a feisty 2. I always put that there. One of the questions that I always get when we have 3 daughters is, oh, are you going to try for that boy? And, for me, it's actually been a surprising thing to be a dad. I always thought I wanted a son, right? Like I did football, baseball, wrestling. I did construction, can build homes and do all the outdoor sports. And one of the amazing things that I've found to be kind of overwhelmingly beautiful is that to these little girls, I'll always be the prince in all these stories, right? I'll always be the protector, the designated Disney song singer to the family, and potentially have daddy's girls until I depart from this earth. And, a son is meant to kind of grow up and supersede the dad and become his own man. But for these girls, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be daddy for the rest of their life. Or in the words of my 2-year-old, she goes, "You're a big daddy. A big, strong daddy."
Well, you're in Texas after all,
Yeah, bigger the better. So to answer that question, I do have a hat that says girl dad, and I do wear it proudly. So I would
Yeah.
even welcome another girl to this tribe if that was the
Mm,
case. So yeah, we love it. We have a really wonderful little family.
Well, we're excited to meet Rachel and have you both on the program because you offer so much. But take us back where you started our conversation, and just explain to us how God's showing you the family system, and
Mm.
why are we here? Like, why is there the need for this ministry that you have? Because it's powerful, and we know more and more people that are struggling.
Absolutely. I think for what we do here at 423, we traditionally started in 2009 as a program for men to find health and restoration from pornography and sexual addiction. And that was kind of our main space. We also have programs for women who are struggling with addiction. And, recent stats, we've seen those things elevate to a significant rate after COVID. I mean, estimates are from, 65% to 90+% of men are wrestling with this issue. I believe it to be everyone, right? Unless you have a significant story of how you found health in this area. This is so pervasive inside of our culture that we're even seeing some of the stats for women wrestling with this, which have traditionally been very low, being from the 40 to 60% range, depending on what model you use. And so if you have 60% of women and 90% of men and the marriages that are involved, it's just tearing apart the family system to have this problem be inside of our community. And unfortunately, even the recent stats for youth, the age of first exposure to pornography is now about 9 years old.
Wow.
And so we see, makes me choke up.
Yeah.
We see this problem just beginning to progress deeper and deeper into the family system. And one of the things for me taking over this ministry was that I got to do all of the intakes for our program. And so I got to see man after man coming into this space and hear their stories of what brought them to this place of unraveling from the problems of unhealthy sexuality. And the story was just strikingly the same. It's the same as my own story, right? That sometime between the ages of 6 and 12, sometimes younger, sometimes older, something entered their story, whether that was the discovery of pornography for the first time, abuse, whatever the story was, something woke up their sexuality and turned them towards unhealthy use of pornography or sexuality at a very young age. And these individuals, myself included, did not have a safe family environment in which to learn how to process through shame, to learn how to process through the dysregulation of doing these things that we inherently know are wrong and moving towards life of feeling like they have to figure it out on their own. And so what this begins to build inside of the life of a young person into their teens and into their college age, young adulthood, marriage, is that we see these individuals beginning to unravel sometime in their 20s and 30s as this behavior just continues to twist and distort everything about what it means to be emotionally healthy and intimate with God and others. And so for us in the last about 5 years, we really started to look at this system and say, man, what can we do if we're not able to get people into our programs until 18 when they're adults and can step into this space and talk about sexuality and health. But most of these men, I would say all of them, and women who come into our program, this problem began when they were 6, 7, 8 years old. So we're missing an entire decade of space where we can walk with them in health. And so it's a huge part of our mission now. We spent the last 3 years putting pretty much all of our efforts into developing our youth recovery program. And so
That's cool.
now we have a space for teens as young as 14 years old. I think we even have a 13-year-old inside of our program. And they're talking about, man, what is healthy sexuality? What is pornography? What is attraction? What is masturbation, right? These things that traditionally we have not been able to talk about inside of the family, let alone the church. And so we're dedicated to providing a pathway for teens to not struggle in isolation and shame alone, and move towards healthy integration inside of their family system.
This is so good. We were sharing right before the program. We are discovering more and more parents that are facing this issue with their kids. And so
Mm,
that you've got a ministry and programs for children and parents
Mhm.
is so huge. And I just want to, if you're listening to this and you've got young kids, like listen up, because you think that your kids aren't being exposed, and they are. And it's
Mhm.
so
absolutely.
crucial that we have these conversations with our kids. They're growing up in a different world than we grew up in.
Absolutely. Yeah, what they're facing is unprecedented. I don't think we currently understand the ramifications of where society is taking this process for youth, and the youth that we do have in our program. It is the most beautiful thing to hear the testimonies of these 13 and 14-year-old young men and women. We have a program for teen girls as well, to just have these conversations, right? And to hear their stories of beginning to be emotionally transparent, right? To learn to
Mhm.
process their stories, to engage in intimacy, and to process through pain at such a young age with health and insight and a very firm biblical foundation of their identity in Christ is just. It is literally what I would give my life for, to see this happen inside of the family system. It is beautiful to see that happen.
Yeah, man, you're just saying so many phrases and words that are jumping out at me, and I really love that engineering mindset you have of figuring out the systems. We knew you
Mm,
were our people, because that's where we're at as well as equippers, right? You want to, hey, it's not just how do we cope with an issue? It's no, let's get to the root. Let's get the healing on it, the light on it, the love on it, and let's bring you out of that in a way that you and your family know how to stay out of it and help others out of it. Like we just see that in you, and we applaud it.
mm,
And
absolutely.
and we really are talking about so many issues. You're an expert, but I'm hearing a couple of things. Maybe you can give us a few words on. You said, this issue around identity, right?
Mm,
Almost every issue is an identity issue, because we don't know who we are, and we don't know who
absolutely.
God is, and so we don't
Real.
have much chance at walking in that until we do. And the work you're doing with identity, talk to us a little bit about that part of the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I think even for myself, one of the things that's been so beautiful about being a parent, and difficult. This is not an easy thing to step into. But really, when you're walking with a young person, a child, right? That my feisty 2-year-old, she has really no sense of who she is. The only thing that she knows is what I give towards her, what I put towards her inside of relationship. And so the words that I say, the way that I model relationship for her is how she starts to build her identity. And as kids progress and get older, this becomes even more needed when youth at, let's say, 9 years old, if that's the common age, step into something that produces a severe reaction against their identity. If we believe that we are aware of sin in ourselves, children know when they're doing something wrong. And this stepping into this space produces inside of them kind of that dysregulated space, and it produces that shame about who I am. Well, mom and dad say I'm supposed to be good, and in Bible class and Sunday school, they say that I'm supposed to not do bad things because God gets angry with people that do bad things, and they're
Mhm.
left in this space of dysregulation with who they are, because very quickly that pornography addiction, that nuanced experience that lights up their brain. There's nothing much more grabbing than the dopamine and the endorphins that are released when you walk towards something like pornography. And when a child enters into that dysregulated space and is left there in isolation and is left to walk that space on their own, all these questions of who am I? If I'm doing something wrong and I know that I'm supposed to be good, what does that mean about me? And so they begin to build this construct in their life to protect themselves from those feelings of being bad. But the problem is that it is our jobs as moms and dads or as people in the lives of these children to be that regulating force to help them. Okay, let's walk through what shame is. Let's walk through what it means to be regulated, to come back to emotional health, and to walk through sin, and let's practice confession and repentance. I
Yeah.
practice that with our 2-year-old. Hey, daddy was so sorry that he yelled at you or was rough with you or was too harsh with you. Will you forgive daddy? I am so sorry that I caused you to become dysregulated. It is our job as a parent to step into that space. The problem that is presented that we see, though, is that we have 90% of our population of men, of dads, and 60% of our moms, or the moms who have been betrayed by the husbands, right? Where stepping into a child's space of dysregulation when the mom or dad hasn't done their own work
Yeah.
Yeah.
creates a system in which you have a child who is wrestling with the very same things that the mom or dad are wrestling with. And to be quite frank, most children discover pornography because the dad has something in the household that hasn't been put away. And
Yeah.
so you have this whole family system where everybody is hiding sin. Everybody is veiled in shame. Everybody is dysregulated and disintegrated from their emotional ability to connect. And we're wondering why our youth are being completely dismantled by this force of unhealthy sexuality inside of culture. And so our call to the men and women in our program is, this isn't just about you finding emotional health. This isn't just about you putting away a bad behavior or an addictive process. This is about you creating a legacy of change so that your son or daughter can step into a place of health from the youngest of age. Right. We even now there's some great books out there. We even read Good Pictures, Bad Pictures with our 7 and 5-year-old,
Mhm.
just talking about, hey, there are going to be times in this life when you encounter things that are going to make you feel icky, that make you feel bad. And hey, we talked about sin, right? We talked about our identity as sons and daughters of God. Whenever this comes up, we have the ability to walk with you in this space and have a conversation about it, inviting them into that conversation of health. Um, the basic principle is you have to go first as a parent in
Yeah.
order to prepare the way for your children to find health. It's just paramount to this process.
We so resonate with your message here. You know, the whole first protocol in the family work that we do, set of exercises, is all about creating a safe, fun, trusting, loving
Hmm.
culture in the home.
Yeah, where
So
you're
that
seen and heard, where it's safe, and we know this to be true when you're that child and it's not actually safe, or your perception is that it's not safe,
Yeah,
because your parents may be really safe people, but if they've not learned how to communicate that in a way that you can come to them, this is when the enemy does his best work, because
absolutely.
we're in that emotionally aroused state,
isolated.
and our DNA literally shaking, waiting for information. And the enemy comes in and he drops that identity lie into our little minds, and it gets locked into our DNA. So
Absolutely.
those parents out there, and you mentioned that a lot of these children, they come across something that maybe dad has left lying around, but now it's on all of these devices. And I mean, the messaging is getting out there, but it bears repeating. Your children, you must monitor their social media, and the platforms, even the programs that seem innocent are sending messages to our children. We must steward this area of our children's lives, because they're so susceptible to it. And look, we can talk about this with adults, but our children, guys.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We're going to come back after this quick break, and we're going to get into some of the solutions. I would like to hear more about some specifics around how to help, but we literally could go on for a week
Yes.
about the
Absolutely.
problem, right? All the
Yeah.
different facets of this issue, and the price that we're paying as a culture, as a family. And
Hmm.
what's showing up in culture is just downstream from what we're talking about right here in the family.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
we'll be right back right after this. We're with Joel Warneking from 423 Community. So good to have you. Come right on back.
We'll see you soon.
Introducing the Family Digital Bundle, a powerful collection designed to transform your family's journey towards healing, growth, and thriving.
At the heart of this bundle is the best-selling book and workbook, The Family Legacy, Shaping Culture from the Inside Out, written by Dr. Randall Bixby.
With insightful wisdom and practical advice, these resources offer a roadmap for building a strong family legacy that shapes the culture of generations to come.
But that's not all. Our Family Digital Bundle includes an e-course, over 9 hours of how-to videos, equipping you with practical tools and expert guidance to help your family.
Imagine your family, a place where love, growth, and connection come together. Isn't it time to build a better family? If not now, when?
Invest in your family. Order the Family Digital Bundle today by clicking the link below or visit our website, thefamilyreformationproject.com.
Hey, we're here with Joel Warneking from 423 Communities. And Joel, let's say somebody hears this podcast and they're like, I know this is an issue. Maybe it's for them as an adult, first of all, or maybe they're noticing, their kids. And we give them your information and they reach out to you. How do you help them?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we focus on for our adult programs, right? Because that's really where it starts. It starts with you have to go get healthy first before you can hope to create an emotionally healthy climate. How do you share about your own story of struggle if you haven't walked through the process of finding your own health? How do you practice authenticity and engaging in intimacy if you haven't first learned how to do that? How can you practice being honest inside of the family system if perhaps you've been lying to everyone in your world for the majority of your life? And so we encourage men and women to get a part of a healthy community. It doesn't have to be 423 communities, but what we offer in our space is a weekly space for men, women, and youth to come together inside of what we call witnessing communities. And it's in this space of gathering together with other believers and gender-specific groups, and getting to have a place where maybe for the first time you can say those words of, I've never told this to anyone before, but I am here to be fully known and fully loved inside of this community. And so our groups meet all across the country. There's online groups available for men, women, and youth to step into a recovery community and be equipped not only with resources, right, of, hey, this is how you kind of clinically move towards sexual health with all these different worksheets and workbooks and curriculums, but to practicing what it means to be vulnerable and to practice authenticity and integrity inside of this system. One of the beautiful things about a 423 community that we hear throughout this entire program is that it is teaching men and women how to be authentically intimate inside of relationship. When a man is in group every week and he is able to come to the table and bring his whole world into this space with other men and learn how to be emotionally available and present and process through his pain, through his shame, through his sexual addiction, he's able to find healing, one, and sobriety from the addictive processes, but he's also able to learn how to be emotionally available. And one of the biggest things we hear from spouses of men who are in our men's program is, oh my gosh, he can emotionally communicate. Like, it's a wonderful thing to see a man be able to process through his pain, to be empathetic, to have an empathic voice into the family system. It's truly just restoring men to be the emotional leaders of the home that they're meant to be.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, this is what you're talking about is wholeness, right? It's not just stopping a bad behavior. It's getting to the root of it and healing the whole person. It's
Absolutely.
so beautiful.
Yeah, it's even a part of some of our mission statement, right? I think there's a lot of recovery programs where it's like, hey, nail, meet, hammer. Like, we're going to fix the behavior. We're going to focus on the behavioral change. We're going to stop bad things. But for us, we understand that, these issues came from such a young age, where there has maybe been some trauma, where there's been some damage, emotional damage, shame, so deep inside of their story. And so the
Yeah.
whole purpose of a 423 community group is uncovering the why behind why people do what they do,
Yeah.
and helping restore their relationship to God, their identity as sons and daughters of God, and in the process of finding that emotional health, that spiritual health, that identity space, those bad behaviors tend to fall off.
Yeah.
Men are surprised in that space. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to jump. This is your 423 community. Somebody might be saying 423. It's got to stand for something. Tell us what that is.
Absolutely. Yeah. 423 comes from Proverbs 4:23. Lots of different translations, beautiful ways to say it, but it is guard your heart with all diligence, for from it flow springs of life. And so for us, we see the heart being throughout scripture, I think it's referenced over 700 times, right, as being this central place where we get to bear the image of God. It's the place where all of life flows from. And frankly, the heart has been assaulted and damaged and beaten and battered in so many different
Mhm.
ways.
Yep.
And one of the ways that we see the heart being affected the most in this current culture is through broken sexuality and addiction. And so
Yes.
that's why we're called 423, is to help
Yeah.
protect and restore the heart of man.
I love it. That's one of our key verses for all of our work as well,
Mm,
Joel. And we
beautiful.
we say it like this, that life flows from you, not to you. Life
That's right.
happens from you. Like there are
Mm,
external stimulus, but how we interpret it, how we define it, how we respond to it, the feelings that
mm,
we generate, the behaviors we generate, all comes from that processing center that you said, the heart. And
definitely.
in fact, I did want to. We don't have to go deep down this because I want you to talk about the next program for youth.
Yeah.
But but it's not only um, volitional on our own parts. At least in our theology, we believe that generationally there can be vulnerabilities spiritually, and so
Mm,
when one generation gives themselves over to perversion or lust or sexual, and they don't go through that healing, they don't have that experience of what you provide, of getting whole,
Mhm.
that they actually then create a vulnerability for their generations that flow from them, their children, their grandchildren. And we see this a lot. And I mean, medical profession picks it
mm.
up. That's why you fill out the medical history when you go in. They can see
Yep.
physically well, the same thing's true spiritually or in this area of the soul. Do you guys quickly, just do you address that? I'm curious. And then I want you to hit on the next program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of a firm believer too of, all of science and all of the truth that we discover is just straight from God as well. And so I
Yeah.
think you see that so much in just how the family system affects one another through broken attachment. And if I'm disintegrated and disengaged and living from a place of shame and broken identity in my home as the leader of my home, my children are being modeled and shaped and cultivated and nurtured to be that same replica of myself. So
Yeah.
spiritual wounding, generational sin, all of these things just compile with what we're learning about in science as well, is that these things translate down through the generations.
Yeah.
And so we have the ability to not only end generational curse and end generational sin by providing a legacy of health. And that starts with us restoring our identity
Yeah.
as the men, as the women, as the moms and dads of our households, to create a space where children can flourish into who they are becoming. That legacy can be rewritten, right? You can reclaim the ground that the enemy has taken inside of your home. And so we implore people, you cannot wait on this issue
Yeah.
to start finding health, because it's not just about you. You're creating a legacy, you're creating a generational lineage of brokenness that can wreak havoc for generation after generation.
Yeah. Powerful. Thank you. Tell us about, if someone's listening and they have a child and they know they need to reach out and they get in touch with you here through your
Mm.
423communities.org. Uh, how do you help them?
Absolutely. So for our youth, we have our 423next.org website is our program for youth. Blake Brinkman is the director for our youth and families program. We have spaces available for teens anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world for that matter, to jump into a community online where they can be walked through our Alliance Recovery curriculum. It's a 12-week curriculum where students learn about this emotional health, integrating into healthy thought processes, finding their identity, restoring what it means to be emotionally healthy. And then this group continues to meet. So a student can have this type of resource all the way through high school. We have groups for college kids, so you can just transition into college. We have then that can transition into our men's groups as you move into young adulthood. We're really here to walk with people for all of life, providing for a space for healthy restoration. We have the ability for parents to have a one-on-one consultation with Blake himself to really figure out how to create this healthy environment for their teen, specifically as it pertains to, hey, we caught our young son looking at pornography. What do we do? Hey, my son is being sexually active at a very young age. Like, how do we handle these issues? We are here and available to walk with anyone through any of these complex situations, not only for their teen's health, but restoring that healthy family system that we're fighting for.
So important. So important. Why don't you tell several people won't see this, they'll be listening to it. So tell us how they can find you again. Give us your contact info.
Absolutely. You can reach me at joel@423communities.org. All of our information for both myself and any of our staff is available at 423communities.org. And we will happily connect with you if you reach out to us in any of those mediums. One thing I will say is that it is one of our main goals to equip every local church with these type of communities across the world. Only 7% of churches have a resource like this available. And so if you would like to bring a 423 men's, women's, or youth program to your local church, we effectively equip a local church with the complete package to run an ongoing group for forever. And so we'd be happy to bring this to your local space.
Oh, I'm so glad you
Wonderful.
mentioned that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you're doing that. I mean, if 7% of our churches have something like this, and the numbers are what you said at the top of the show, 90% of men, 60%. And I know that there's even a stat around clergy, that have a high number.
Very high number. I think it's way up in the 80s. It's astronomical.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. And that's a reminder too, that 7% number. Gosh, the church of all places, the church should be the go-to place for people to get healed. Hey,
Absolutely.
yeah, spread the message, listeners. If you don't have a program like this in your church, talk to your pastor, share this podcast, share this website. Let's get healing back accessible to our families.
Absolutely. Definitely.
So what an honor to have you. We'll have you back if you'll come back and bring Rachel and maybe Blake. We really want to see this solution out there because it is a problem, and more than a problem. It's disintegrating the
It's an
identity,
epidemic.
the image of God in our families. And it's
really
showing
is.
up in culture. Just look at the headlines. Not many days go by where something around this issue that's not it's not on the headlines of how it's affecting communities, families, culture. So that's a wrap for today, Joel. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to meet you both in this space, and thank you for having me.
You betcha. And remember this: whoever wins the family
Wins the culture in the end. We'll see you next
time. That wraps up another inspiring episode of Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. We hope that today's conversation has left you feeling empowered and equipped to take action.
Remember, transforming families begins with transforming ourselves. Let's be intentional, loving, and persevere. You're not alone. We're right here with you.
We believe Proverbs 24:3. Wise people are builders. They build families, businesses, and communities. Through intelligence and insight, Their enterprises are established and endure.
Thanks for joining us today. We encourage you to stay connected with us on social media, join our email list, and learn more about our resources and classes at the Family School by visiting thefamilyreformationproject.com.
Remember to subscribe, share with your loved ones, and spread the word about transforming families. We'll see you on our next episode. And remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end.